All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you live tonight to preview the Rams wild card matchup against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. This will be the second time the Rams have gone to Carolina to face the Panthers this season, Jake, this time in the postseason. As we all remember, I'm sure it did not go our way, our first matchup of the season. It was a kind of a crazy game that the Rams ended up losing. It was a game that we all truthfully suspected that we were going to win, and we didn't. Was not the Rams' best game. So they're going back for revenge. And this time with the entire rest of the postseason on the line. Jake, it's win or go home. So it's going to be a huge game this Saturday for our Los Angeles Rams. And Jake, it's here. It feels like this season, to me, it feels like this season flew by. I think we talked about this on the last episode as well. Like, I feel like I blinked and the season was over. But then if I really think about it, we've lived so many lives. This Rams team has had so many different chapters, so many different lives, so many ups and downs this season. So it is really truthfully crazy to me that it's already the postseason and that the playoffs are here. And it's worth mentioning that the Rams are in the wild card round. For a while there, it looked like the Rams would potentially not be playing this weekend. It looked like they were going to have the number one seed, and through a series of unfortunate events, that is not the case. They are now playing wild card weekend, and we are playing as the fifth seed. So, Jake, looking at this matchup, what are your overall thoughts before we go ahead and kind of break down specifics about this?
Yeah, before we get into it, I just want to highlight this because this is right up your alley, Alexis, with the black magic powers.
You're kidding. I didn't see that. Is
Brandon
that real?
Yeah, I saw it. The wheel landed on the Rams. The wheel also landed on the Seahawks last week, and they won the NFC West. So I don't care about the wheel. I don't care. Now, to be fair, the wheel landed on the Rams the week they played the Seahawks, and then they lost two straight. But still don't care. I just went back and I watched that Carolina game. I got to be honest with you. I felt like the Rams outplayed Carolina in that game. It was surprising. I wasn't expecting to. I was like, it was week 13, Alexis. It was a while ago. I had to kind of refresh my memory. The Rams were literally at the 21-yard line on 3rd and 10. If Stafford just takes the sack and doesn't fumble the football, and I'm not trying to say Stafford sucked or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if he just happens to not fumble the football there, which he doesn't do very often anyway, they kick that field goal and it's 31-31. So it was a completely different feeling that I got when I was I was rewatching it, and I just didn't have that same feeling of wow, they kicked the crap out of it. Not really. 3 fourth down conversions. They had to have it. In Carolina, you give them, credit. But, I mean, there was some weird stuff that happened in that game, and the Rams still should have won the game. So, I mean, is that going to happen again? Surely possible, but the Rams are the better team, and I want to throw this at you. I don't know if you knew this. Tyler Higbee, when the 13 personnel grouping is out there, half of the touchdowns have come when Tyler Higbee is on the field. Okay? He was barely on the field for the 13 personnel. I believe he's only played 30% of snaps in 13 personnel. Okay? So they are much better when Tyler Higbee's on the field. And 3 of their 5 losses have come when Tyler Higbee is not on the field. So, look, I don't care what anyone says. I feel really good about this game. I felt really good about the way they ended the game against Arizona, taking care of business. Carolina is kind of limping into this postseason. I'm not talking about health-wise. They've won 1 game in their last 4. They don't look great. And it's not like you're playing a really hot team right now. Whereas the Rams, they might not be super hot either. But I feel like, let's just be honest, if one thing changes in that Seahawks game and they don't come back, we're talking a completely different tune. I mean, Stafford threw over 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against arguably the best defense in the National Football League. And all anybody wants to talk about is how badly he played against the Falcons. So That's just kind of the way it is. I didn't forget Kyron Williams ran all over this defense last time. Blake Corum ran all over this defense last time. Alexis, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I feel really good about the Rams' chances in this one.
I do too. And it's worth talking about the weather. Because that was like a little bit of a factor. Not as much. And if I remember correctly, last time we played Carolina, it was suspected to be worse. Like going into the game, we thought that it was going to be like this torrential thunderstorm downpour. And then it rained like slightly, but it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. And now it's going to be like the same this weekend. I think that's what they're predicting as well. So, and I bring that up because you talk about the run game. That could be a factor, right? If it's torrential downpour, if it's wet conditions, if visibility is low, you might have to rely on your run game, right? Which is a good thing for the Rams when you've got Kyron and Blake, who did very well against this Carolina defense. But on the flip side of that, Jake, our defense did not do so well against the run game in Carolina last time. And I think we should start there. Let's talk about the run game. Well, let's just talk about the defense in general for the Rams going against Carolina. So, you're going up against Bryce Young, who looked, he had his moments against the Rams defense. I didn't think he looked particularly amazing last
It was funny,
game.
like watching you like wrestle with the fact, like Bryce Young, like, like he had his moments.
Because it's like you have to give him credit, right? Because the Panthers won. They beat us fair and square, right?
He was very good. He was very good.
He was very good, but a lot of what I felt, just statistically, a lot of what the Panthers did, they ran all over us, from just being frank. And it
was a weird way, too, because they ran 40 times and they were fine with the 4 to 5 yard runs. It was different than Bijan Robinson running 3 giant 50-plus yard runs. They just beat you because I believe the Rams touched the ball 3 times, 3 plays in the third quarter. The game was weird. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it was weird. And so that's why I do have a feeling that the Rams are going to be better prepared against Carolina's run game going into this. Trust me. That was, from what we heard from, the Rams after that, like they were embarrassed that they let that happen. They are not going to take Carolina's run game lightly. And again, if the conditions are poor and we find that these teams are really looking to lean on the run, the Rams defense is going to be prepared this time. So Jake, when you look at what the Panthers are going to try to do you think that their first formula is going to try and revert back to that because they had so much success with that when they played us earlier in the season? Or do you think they're going to look to get Bryce Young more involved?
They're definitely not looking to get Bryce Young more involved. I know Bryce Young played well the first time. Quentin Lake wasn't active for that game. So I don't suspect that they're going to try their luck with Bryce Young. I think they're going to try and run the ball and run it early on. I don't think they're going to have the same success. Quentin Lake, when this team has Quentin Lake on the field, they are a much better run defense, probably one of the best run defenses in all of football. And without him, you see those kind of cracks in the armor. So I don't know if they're going to be able to have that success. I don't believe they will. Chuba Hubbard isn't as good as he looked against the Rams. I can tell you that much. And they kind of held Rico Dowdle in check. It was just a matter of getting to those third and shorts or even just not even getting to third down, just running right from second to first. They were consistent with their 4 or 5 yard runs, and it really kept the Rams on their toes in that game. I think they allowed 2 to 3 explosive runs when we're talking about 10 plus yards, not anything 50. The big explosive run was the 34 yarder by Blake Corum, if anything. But as time has gone on, I think people forget, Poona Ford was not healthy in this game. And also, to be fair, Carolina had their share of health as well. They didn't have J.C. Horn, their number 1 cornerback. He was out. They didn't have Trayvon Merrick. He was suspended. They didn't have Christian Roseboom. They didn't have Cade Mays. They didn't have our guy Chandler Zavala. They were without guys too. So I want to make it fair there on both sides. But Poona Ford is, when you look at what the difference is between last year and this year, the Rams defense is almost exactly the same as last year. What did they add when you talk about the starters? Poona Ford and Nate Landman. And Nate Landman has not played as well since Quentin Lake has been out. And Poona Ford in this game was playing on a snap count. And he looked great when he was out there, but he wasn't out there all the time. And they had rookie Ty Hamilton getting destroyed. So I do think those are the things you have to take into account when you're looking at this team. This Rams team, more often than not this year, what are they? They're the best offense in the league. They're the only team to score over 500 points. But on the defensive side, they've been one of the best run defenses in football. You know, you take away the Falcons game, you take away the Panthers game, and this team is definitely in the top 3 all season long, you know, numbers wise. So I think they're going to be able to stop the run, Alexis, and they're going to force Bryce Young to have to make plays. And I just don't think he's going to be able to do it in that spotlight. The lights a lot brighter than week 13. And I'll be the first one to tell you this. I'll always admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong about this not being a trap game. I don't necessarily believe in the idea of a trap game because I like to be ignorant to the fact that a team can't, you know, just overlook a team. I mean, you go through all that prep. Alexis, I think they overlooked the Panthers a little bit. And I think you see it because they actually outplayed the Panthers. But how did the Panthers come away with 3 4th-down conversions? I don't think they took them seriously enough. I don't think Chris Shula had the best game plan. I don't think they took Bryce Young seriously enough. And that's what happened. But you're talking about a team right now that knows it's a win or go home. You're talking about a team now that has been humbled. Okay, they were the first team to clinch a playoff berth, and now here they are playing on the road. That's embarrassing. They are literally playing on the road against a team that did not have a winning record. Okay, so there is something out there. There is some animosity, and I think the Rams are going to take out their frustration, their anger, and I think they're going to win this game. And I think they're going to control this game, and I think they're going to right their wrongs.
Sorry, I was muted. I agree. I think, it was really unfortunate what happened against Carolina. I was of the opinion that the Rams overlooked them as well. I thought it was pretty obvious. Didn't love it. Didn't love what I saw from the beginning of that game. So I know a lot of fans didn't, and I think the Rams will not allow that to happen again. At least they should not. As you said, it's win or go home. They know that. So we'll see. Looking at this offense for the Panthers, I think if you can get pressure on Bryce Young, the Rams have been hit or miss sometimes with pressuring the quarterback. I think they've been a little bit better at it as of late. There's been some moments where I know that we're sitting there, we're going like, what, how are you not getting to the quarterback? I think if you can remotely put pressure on Bryce Young in a playoff game, he's going to struggle. So we'll see. I do suspect that because of not only the conditions, but because of the circumstances, playoff game, they are going to lean on that run game in Carolina. I think that first and foremost, they're going to see if they can pull off what they did against the Rams earlier in the season. So I think the Rams' number one priority should be run defense. If you can lock it down, which we know they can do, because they've done it against a lot of really good running backs this season already, then all the pressure in the world is on Bryce Young, and you're going to have to force him to show you that he can make those throws. So we'll see, but it'll be interesting. I know that defense, and I know guys like Jared Verse are going to want revenge, Kobe Turner, right? So I think it could be potentially a really big day for this Rams defense. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And, Bryce Young does not have the worst numbers against the pressure, has 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 11 big-time throws, 6 turnover-worthy plays. So that's kind of the interesting thing with him. He's actually, you could argue, when he's kept clean, his numbers kind of, drop a little bit. He's an interesting one, though, to me, because Bryce Young plays with a chip on his shoulder, and we've seen Jalen Hurts, a guy that we know he can run, and he doesn't run a lot during the regular season. And then right when things need to get going, like in big games, Jalen Hurts lets his legs do the talking. I'm wondering the type of quarterback Bryce Young is going to be in this game, because I'll tell you right now, that is an advantage. That is 100% an advantage that Stafford just doesn't have. Bryce Young has the legs to get out and get away from, get out of harm's way and make plays. So that's something to keep in mind there. He has a 74.5 passer rating, under pressure. That's 8th in the league, Alexis. So that's pretty crazy when you think about it. Matthew Stafford, for just comparison's sake, is fifth in the league at 83.4. So, this is a quarterback that isn't like your stereotypical, oh, yeah, he's under pressure, he struggles, so forth. Pressure is going to help. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how good he was this year. You're under pressure in the playoffs. It's going to matter, right? But it is really fascinating in that regard. As far as when he's blitzed, he has 12 big-time throws, 6 turnover-worthy plays, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 87.1 passer rating, which is 22nd in the league. So against the blitz, he still had success. I mean, you have to keep in mind, he's had a successful season. He's done the things that were required of him. He's played against a tough schedule, so he's battle-tested. It'll be really interesting. And what I'll just chalk it up to this. If Bryce Young has a run game to fall back on, to build off of, right, then he's probably going to have a decent game. Like, if they're running the football and they don't abandon the run like they did against Seattle, like they did against Tampa, he's going to have a chance to do some things in this game. He is. I mean, the Rams, I know Quentin Lake's going to help, but the Rams have, just the way they've been calling the defense lately, they've left things open, right? They've left guys open. They've played soft zone. They've played more bend, don't break. So, he is going to have that opportunity. The big thing, when you look at Bryce Young, is that he is also really good in play action, a 99.9, passer rating. Obviously, we know Stafford is, but Bryce Young is really good in play action as well. So how do you, stop a team from being able to utilize play action? You stop their running attack. And I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, Chuba Hubbard had a really good game against the Rams. Rico Dowdle has had 2 200-yard games this season. If the Rams and guys like Poona Ford can really step up and just put Bryce Young on an island where he can't really, get the play action game going, then it's going to be really interesting where this game goes. I thought Seattle took everything away that Canales wanted to run. So the Rams are going to have to be smart. I don't want to see bend, don't break. I don't want to see this soft zone. I want to see aggression. I want to force Bryce Young, disguise your coverages, make him, have to really play the quarterback position. Because if he's sitting there and thinking, and he's a young quarterback and he's never been in this spotlight before, he can make mistakes. And I really do believe the Rams are going to force some mistakes. Because last time he played against the Rams, he was mistake-free. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's thrown 11 this year. He hasn't thrown one since the Seattle game. I think they're definitely going to get one in this one.
Well, something that I wanted to bring up too, as well, is, when we look at, so if the Rams can shut down the run game and we force Bryce Young to throw, looking at the matchup in our corners, right? Because our corner situation looks a little bit different this time, right? Going against Carolina. Who do you suspect, is going to be on McMillan? Do you think it's going to be Kello? Do you think they're going to rotate? How do you think the Rams secondary is going to line up against guys like Tet McMillan and our guy Jalen Coker, Leggett? What is going to be the game plan there? Because, we know that regardless, they need to change their scheme when they play these receivers going against Carolina, or at least play a little bit tighter, right? When we watched this game last time, they were playing so far off the receivers, which probably goes into a little bit how you and I both touched on earlier, how the Rams felt underprepared. They probably didn't take the Carolina offense as seriously as they should have. They were giving them way too much room. So, Jake, what do you think is going to happen in the secondary? Because I think size-wise, you're probably putting Kello on McMillan. Or you're rotating guys through, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest here. The last time this team played each other, Kello was coming off the injury. It was his first game back. He had 1 target, no catches allowed against Xavier Leggett. Emmanuel Forbes gave up huge plays against Tetero McMillan, a 43-yard bomb on 4th down, and then a 33-yard bomb on 4th down to Jalen Coker. Forbes is probably going to play. Akello's probably going to play. Kobe's probably going to play. And I would say Darius Williams is going to be healthy in this game. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to be active. If Forbes shows any signs of week 13, we're going to see Darius Williams in this game. I'm saying that right now. I think they're going to put Akello. They're going to rotate. I do think that because you've seen Akello play in the boundary. You've seen him play on, in the field. He can play either, and Kobe, they use him in different ways as well. I think you're going to see rotation, but I think Akello is mainly going to line up against, Tet McMillan. But it is worth mentioning that this is one of the bigger wide receiver rooms in football. I mean, Jalen Coker's huge. McMillan is 6'5". Coker is, I believe, 6'3". Leggett is 6'3". So, I mean, they have like some big bodies out there. It does create some mismatches. But that's kind of what I see is I think we are going to see a rotation, and I think we're going to see a really good day from the corners. They are under fire like crazy right now, and the pressure's starting to get to quarterbacks. We're starting to see it. 6 sacks against Jacoby Brissett. We saw, Kirk Cousins pressured on 14 of his 21 dropbacks. They're getting hot the right time. Last year, they only had 38 sacks on the season. Everyone was wondering when they were going to come. They all came in the playoffs. I believe they had 15 in 2 games, 16 in 2 games, which, by the way, was tied for the all-time record in the postseason. I think they get things going when they need to. I think this team, maybe is a little victim to getting up for certain games and maybe not getting enough hype for other games. And, you really see that with the pass rush. And I think this is one where Carolina is probably wishing they were the team that lost week 13 coming into this game. I think the Rams are really going to benefit off that, but I think the pass rush is going to help out the coverage, and I think so forth. And also just having Quentin Lake back, hopefully that's going to take away the middle of the field because, Bryce Young made a lot of plays and a lot of them were over the middle to, of course, the last play of the game, sealing the deal. So I think it's going to be really key having him back, and, we'll see how everybody kind of fits into the mix there.
And the last thing that I'll point out about this Carolina offense, just very briefly, is don't overlook their tight end game. Because every game that I've watched from the Panthers, they are actually sneakily good at getting their tight ends involved. And I know that as Rams fans, we've seen our defense struggle with tight ends in the past. And I don't think that they have particularly the most talented tight ends, but they do like to use them. I mean, Tommy Tremble, listen, he's a Notre Dame guy. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I don't think that Tommy Tremble by any means is like a major threat in the NFL, at least as of right now, right? Like you're not looking at this Panthers offense and going, watch out for Tommy Tremble. But something I think that the Rams should keep in mind and look out for is that Bryce Young does really trust him and his other tight ends. So that'll be something interesting to watch out for. Do they try to get the tight ends involved? They're in the middle going up against the linebackers. Who knows? Just something to watch out for, see if Carolina leans on them a little bit. But Jake, let's talk about our offense, right? Because, against the Cardinals on Sunday, they really for a lot of the game, until the end there, struggled offensively. And we've been seeing kind of these offensive struggles, Stafford not being super in sync with some of the receivers, the tight ends having drops, the run game getting stifled, which is a lot has to do with the offensive line, and we'll talk about that as well. But, the run game wasn't really there at first. So it kind of was like, we all were watching the Rams play against Arizona, and we've done this in some other games this season, and Carolina, right, as well, when we played them early, is just something seems a little bit out of sync. Something seems off to start these games. So I would like to see them when they play Carolina, obviously start off hot, right? We would like to see some of these issues corrected. We would like to see, the offense being more in sync. I felt like Terrence Ferguson really opened up this offense. Personally, I think it really gave a receiving weapon to Matthew Stafford that he didn't have when Adams was out. But now looking at this game, it looks like Ferguson, he's still not practicing. We'll know tomorrow if he's going to play. So we don't know if he's going to be an option. But Jake, what do you think that the Rams need to do, number one, offensively going into this game?
Well, I think they got to establish their team personnel early on. This is a defense that has given up 87 receptions this year, over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns to tight ends. Okay, so you got to get 13 personnel going. The Rams are at their best. Their EPA goes through the roof when they're in 13 personnel, and it's absolutely through the roof when they're in 13 personnel with Tyler Higbee. Since Higbee's been gone, the 13 personnel hasn't worked the same. So I think they got to get that thing going. The Rams only had 5 catches for 31 yards with their tight ends against the Panthers. I mean, that's just unacceptable. They have been doing things all year with their tight ends, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And, I think when you go back, you look at the 49ers game, right? That needs to be the recipe. The Rams came out, 10 catches, 14 targets, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. They established it early on, and the 49ers had no answer whatsoever. That's what you have to do, because in that game, they were able to run the football with Kyron and Blake. They were able to throw the football with Colby Parkinson and Tyler Higbee and Davis Allen and, of course, Ferguson. That's what they need to do. You already know that you have Puka Nacua in the bag. I mean, he's the offensive player of the year. He might not win it, but he is definitely the offensive player of the year, leads JSN just about every single category except for yards. But you have him in the bag. You have Devontae Adams, who literally led the league in touchdowns, and he missed the last 3 games of the year, right? Finished with 14, widely ahead of everybody else. So you have the best red zone threat. The Rams have a 60% touchdown rate in the red zone when Devontae Adams is on the field. They have a 59, by the way, when Colby Parkinson is on the field. So there's so many different ways you have them in the bag. Like, Devontae Adams is going to open up opportunities for Puka. Puka's going to open up opportunities for Devontae Adams. You have the tight ends. Like, you need to make sure that you're using the things that are most likely to be taken away based on game flow. You're never going to take Puka Nacua out of a game because of the flow of the game, but you can take Kyron Williams out of the game. You can take Blake Corum out of the game. If you turn this into, oh my God, this is a shootout, we've seen Sean McVay will abandon the run. Don't allow yourself to abandon the run. You start with those guys. You start with the 13 personnel. And I'll tell you right now, 13 personnel is going to keep Matthew Stafford clean. He took 2 sacks in this game. He doesn't get sacked very often. He does a great job of avoiding them. One was killer, ended their game with the fumble. Stafford's only been sacked once in 13 personnel. It's a no-brainer. They got to start the thing hot. They're gonna have to start it with their identity that they set after Puka went down with the injury, and that's it. That's really that simple. Carolina already isn't good against the tight ends. This team doesn't need a George Kittle. I've said it all year. They have 3 to 4 tight ends that together can combine to have the production that Kittle offers in San Francisco. This is when it's clicking and firing on all cylinders. The Rams' 13 personnel grouping is absolutely unstoppable, and it is the best grouping in the entire NFL.
I agree. I think that's got to be the recipe. That's got to be the game plan. And again, not abandoning the run game. I mean, they had success against, using the run against this Carolina defense, when they first played them, and especially if it's going to be this, thunderstorm, horrible weather that they're predicting. Cool, run the ball. So, we'll see, but I think that you hit the nail on the head there. I think, I don't think Dotson is going to be back personally at this point. I hope he is, because I think, as we've seen, he is such a key element to this run game. I mean, as he is massive. He's an unspoken hero to the run game, but it doesn't sound like, to me, based on what I'm hearing, he's going to be back. It doesn't sound like Terrence Ferguson is going to be back either. But we'll see. Maybe they make a decision. Maybe they dress Terrence Ferguson and they don't play him unless they feel that, they really need to. I don't know if you have any insight about that, Jake, but those are 2 pieces that, if they were able to go Saturday, I think would make a huge difference. Right. So we'll see, but
I'm not expecting Dotson to play.
I think if anything,
Ferguson.
I hope Ferguson does. I don't think that Dotson's going to play either, but I hope that Ferguson does. And if he's really still kind of injured, dress him then. Dress him and have him available, and see if you can get, not play him as much as you probably would like to and throw him in there only if necessary. But he, in my opinion, really opened up so much for this offense. So I would really, really like to see him out there. And we're going to find out tomorrow, it sounds like. We're going to find out who's playing tomorrow. But Jake, it's time.
It is time.
It is time for our 4 predictions. But first, we have a word from Sleeper.
We do. Oh, they didn't kick you out this time. Sleeper. I'm looking at it right now. I got it on my phone. All right. Sleeper, right now, you got a freebie. You're trying to play this weekend. First off, use that code JKB before you sign up. Get the 100% match up to $100. That's the first thing. The second thing, $20 free entry. It's in your account if you haven't used it. It's still sitting there. It's also going to be sitting there when you sign up. It's a no-brainer. You don't need to deposit to be able to use it. This is the weekend to use it, man. There's so many players that I think are going to have some good games. I mean, you look at Jacoby Myers over with Jacksonville playing against Buffalo, probably an FU game to Buffalo for not trading for him at the deadline. You got Jordan Love taking on the Bears. He didn't get a chance to play the last game. But you also got the Rams. You got CJ Stroud also, who is a freebie. Yep, that's right. 0.5 yards. He's definitely going to have more than that. So you can do that. I'm going to go with, let's see here. I like Devontae Adams to score. Last time he saw Carolina, he scored 2 touchdowns. I like that. These aren't necessarily bold predictions, so I'm just throwing these out there for you. Kyron, 67.5 rushing yards, was averaging almost 6 yards per carry last time he faced the Panthers. I think he's going to have more than that. I think Blake Corum is going to have more than 41.5 rushing yards. I think Tyler Higbee will have more than 2.5 receptions. So be sure to get in on the action over at Sleeper and enjoy. All right. Now, before we get things going, everyone wants to know what's the important thing here? Well, the important thing is getting it out of the way. Clete Blakeman is going to be the official. A lot of people had a bone to pick with him because he was the official in the Falcons game. We already addressed that, so I'm not going to get into it. But there are some news. There's some news about Clete Blakeman. So this is, first off, he played college football at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And outside of his work as an NFL official, he is a partner and personal injury attorney in the law firm of Carlson Blakeman LLP in Omaha, Nebraska. He also, cover your ears, Panthers fans, officiated Super Bowl 50. The Cam Newton didn't jump on the football Super Bowl. So that is Clete Blakeman. The Rams are 9-9 all time, going back to 2010 when he is the official. The Rams are 7-6, I believe, in the Sean McVay era under Clete Blakeman when he is refereeing games. They've already lost this year. So that's that. That's Clete. Any thoughts, Alexis, on what you've now learned about Clete Blakeman in the last 2 minutes?
Well, I'm really glad that we brought this segment back because it was kind of a good luck charm. Like, I don't want to whatever, but we didn't do it. We stopped doing referee fun facts and then things started not going our way. So, yeah, interesting. I feel good about him, having him, as our referee this upcoming weekend. He seems to be a pretty fair guy, seems to make some good calls. So we'll see, guys. That's the ref. The more you know.
The more you know. And hey, I know, right? I knew someone was gonna say it. I knew someone. Home teams are 47% against the spread when Clete Blakeman officiates their games. That's interesting. One last thing. If you guys have ever been on Facebook and you have all those natural disasters that happens, hurricanes, so forth, you can mark yourself as safe. I'm going to mark the Rams as safe when I speak for everyone here. They are safe from Brad Allen, and they are safe from Craig Rolstad. Everyone, round of applause. They are safe from those two. I don't know if they will be next week. There is a realistic chance that Craig Rolstad could call a game in Seattle again against the Seattle Seahawks if the Rams advance and things happen. But That is next week, and they have to win this game first. Let's get into the bold predictions, Alexis, and I'll let
The
you go
bold.
because I feel like I'm always going first, and I'm stealing your thunder. You can steal my thunder for a change. How about that?
Well, can I bring up something that's kind of like I'm bummed that the chat didn't bring up yet,
What's that?
and you know what it's going to be
Desjuan
because
Johnson?
no. Okay, so
Oh, the hoodie.
every show I wear a hoodie because my house is like cold and I also get cold really easy and I'm like comfy and I wear a hoodie and everybody's like, do you own anything other than hoodies? Like, do you wear anything other than hoodies? So very discreetly, I wore something that isn't a hoodie for this show and nobody has brought it up. And it makes me feel like the hoodie stuff is just not as important as you all made it be.
I don't know.
So I'm in a flannel. What now, guys? I showed you that I own another piece of clothing. You've all asked. I presented evidence and still nothing. So
Still
the
nothing.
hoodies are coming back. I do fully have a heated blanket on my lap though, because I am cold without my hoodie.
Did you, by the way, did you get any bold predictions right last week?
I don't
We need to be
think
better at
so.
documenting
We need
this.
better. Yeah, I usually just wait if people usually tell us.
Yeah.
So like if we get something right, people usually like tweet us or message us or something. So like that's how I just like internally keep track. I don't actually remember and I should. We could go back and listen after this.
Yeah. If you noticed, I changed the game preview graphic to a picture instead of players because I'm going to point out, I'm not one to believe in jinxing or anything, but I had a Kello on the Cardinals one the week. Like Kello did not look very good. I had Jared Goff on the Lions one against Stafford, and Goff, of course, looked great against the Rams. I know Puka and JSN were on that cover, but I tend to look at the negative with this thing because I had Terrence Ferguson on Week 18's cover, and the man got ruled out for the game right after we did our show. Like, I think I had him in 2 bold predictions. I don't know. I had him in one of them. I know that. So yeah, we're not. Poor Baker Mayfield was on the cover for one of them, and like his shoulder nearly came off in the Rams game. The cover tends to Jordan Whittington. I mean, yeah, that's all you need to know. Like we've ditched the side by side, and now we're just doing the picture. So that's why the thumbnail looks like that, because I'm not trying to jinx anybody moving forward, Alexis. I feel responsible for Terrence Ferguson's hamstring now. Like I hope you know that. And I want
everyone to listen to this when I'm the one accused of witchcraft and all that. This guy here just went on that whole spiel.
I'm right.
And I said that I don't believe in Perna's wheel. So
I don't believe in it either.
All right.
I just like having fun with you because I know
you
like, you like your stuff, and I don't know.
I'm very
since
fascinated.
I've known you, yeah.
Oh yeah, since you've known me, I'll just text you all stuff about demons and ghouls and witchcraft and
yeah.
Like, the biggest moment of my life was Agatha all along.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. It's I got 2 right. I know that. One was kind of easy. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm calling 4 touchdowns easy, but Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns. I got that right against the Cardinals. And then I got Desjuan Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant, 2 sacks, career high. I knew it. I'll just say I spoke it into existence. How about that?
Hey, we'll take it. I believe.
I believe that you believe. Oh,
that's
you
Stranger
believe.
Things.
Okay.
It's not a spoiler if you haven't seen it.
Do you believe there's going to be a 9th episode?
No, I don't. And we would have already known because the time passed of when it was going to drop.
People. Oh, man.
So, but no. Anyways, witchcraft. I am a witchcraft, but WITCHKRAFT believer.
Oh, wow.
Witchcraft. not witchcraft.
Wow,
Witchcraft.
we need a segment for that.
Yeah, we need a next season of Downtown Rams. We're gonna do a witchcraft segment. But it's witchcraft, craft with a K, so it's not actual witchcraft. Let's move on. All right, getting into the 4 bold predictions, Jake. So looking at this game, it's a playoff game. Looking at the conditions, not great. Doesn't look like it's going to be a fun one weather-wise for the Rams. Unfortunately, games like that can be turnover city, and hopefully that is not going to happen. But it just might. It's when it rains like that, anything can happen. So I'm predicting the Rams are going to have 2 interceptions against Bryce Young. Not going to decide on a player, but 2 interceptions. I feel good because I think that the Rams are going to try and shut down that run game because they weren't very good at it. When we played them the first time around, they aren't going to want to have that performance again. So I think that they're going to force Bryce Young to throw it. And I think that a combination of just the weather and the nerves and the playoffs, I think that they're going to have 2+ interceptions. My second prediction, I'll stay on the defense as well. I think we're going to see Kobe Turner 2+ sacks. This feels like a big game from Kobe Turner. I think that he's been playing. He's like what word am I looking for? Underappreciated king, which sounds crazy because he's so good. But when you've got like guys like Byron Young and Jared Verse on your line, you can get underappreciated, unfortunately. So I think we're going to see Kobe Turner have 2+ sacks. Offensively, I'm going to say that both of our running backs rush for over 50 yards and they each get a touchdown. I think that that's going to happen. I think they had success against Carolina's run defense the last game. We strayed away from the run game. I think it was part of the reason that we lost. Both Kyron and Blake looked really, really good against Carolina. So I think that, again, especially in the conditions, I think we're going to run the ball a lot. Hopefully, at least we should. So I think we're going to see Kyron and Blake each get a touchdown, each rush for over 50 yards. Do I want to make my 4th one special teams? I don't. We've been doing that, but I just feel like it's hard to make a special teams prediction in this type of game. So I'll say my 4th prediction. We'll stick with offense. I'm going to say Terrence Ferguson plays and scores a touchdown.
Ooh. Okay.
I think he is going to play.
I saw someone say that it's not raining. It absolutely is. I'm looking at 75% precipitation throughout the entire game.
Yeah, it does not look good, guys.
And there's a chance, and I actually really want to bring this up because this could affect viewing. There's a chance that there is going to be lightning at 4:30 and push this game back until like 5:36. That's an actual real chance, Eastern time.
This is a nightmare for me, and people who follow me.
I knew you were like processing the information. I could see it.
Yeah, listen, because, and I said this on Twitter. So one of my dearest friends has a birthday party Saturday night. Okay, this has been planned. Her birthday is the 10th. And so her birthday party is the night of the 10th, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that game is not, her party's not really where near I live. So I have to kind of like commute there. And if this game gets delayed repeatedly, that is a problem for me because I do have a birthday party that I am supposed to be at and really want to be at, and all my friends will be there. But I've also got this Rams game. And also the Chicago Bears play in Chicago, where I live, Saturday night. So the commuting and everything is already going to take a long time. So, like, I was not kidding when I said that this game being on Saturday was the worst scenario for me. So I'm really hoping that, like, it just rains and there's not lightning, because if this game, like, repeatedly gets pushed back, I'm going to be in a real bad spot. So we'll see. But yeah, it's not looking good, Jake. The forecast doesn't look good. So I know that some people hadn't heard that the weather was going to be bad yet, but it's the way the cookie crumbles, you know? Weather, man.
Yeah, it really be like that. I don't know. I love how it literally doesn't rain all day until the game. Stafford does have a 2-10 record in games played in the rain or snow. So that's not ideal. But you know what I love about these records? Because I keep seeing like Stafford's never won on the road in the wild card. And it's like, all right, Stafford's never won on the road in the wild card. How many wild card road games has Stafford played with the Rams? 2.
Yeah.
The other ones were with the Lions. Lesser team, not as talented, definitely not the favorite. So, I don't know. Like that's the thing.
I think that the concern with the weather is just, and this is with any football team, is it just becomes like a turnover nightmare, right? I mean, that's really the main problem. Like when you start playing games and like downpours, and also it depends. Like again, if it's just rain, they're going to play through it. But it's really like, is it going to be lightning? Which it looks like it might be.
Do you remember, by the way, it rained in the London game? No one brings that up because it doesn't fit their narrative. Stafford threw 5 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about the rain. I think the only concerns with the rain are like the obvious, like I said, with like turnovers and with any football game. But I think if we could, I just hope it stays as rain.
Yeah, no,
we don't want the situation where it just storms all night long and then you're sitting there for hours and hours.
And Bears, Packers, that's right by you. That's going to be in the snow, it sounds like. So that's going to be
that's another thing. So yeah, again, like when I emphasize that Saturday has the potential to be an absolute nightmare for me because I have to commute and go to that like to the other end of the city for a birthday party, but then the Rams might get delayed, but then it's also going to be a snowstorm here. Like I am nervous, guys.
You're not going to watch the game with Papa Don?
No, I've got a birthday party. And you know what? I'm about to... Well, here's the thing. Well, I shouldn't say this because it's going to make the situation even worse. It's his birthday on Saturday.
Oh my God.
I know, but like I am going to spend we're doing a morning thing with him.
Okay.
And all that. So like I'm going to be with him on his birthday. I just won't be there that night. But yeah, anyways, nobody cares about that logistical problem that I have, but that is a nightmare for me Saturday, but it could also be for the Rams depending on this weather. So we will see. I mean, it's also not like as a player, you don't want a situation where you're sitting in the locker room for 2 hours, you know what I mean? Like where you play a quarter and then you go sit. So like
I think I don't think it's going to have any effect on the Rams because I think that there's a significant talent disparity. That's just how I feel. I could be wrong, but I just think Stafford versus and again, I don't care if this is on the road or at home. Mind you, the Rams played on the road the year they won the Super Bowl. They had to go and play in Tampa, and they went toe-to-toe. Stafford went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. And they went up 27-3 and then felt the onslaught, just 4 fumbles, the most freak shit you've ever seen. And they still found a way to win. Like, and you want to talk about dark magic and whatever the hell Tom Brady did to get that game close again. The Rams somehow overcame that. So we've seen it all. I will say this, okay? I am going to go with Tyler Higbee is going to be a touchdown scorer in this game and is going to go over 80 yards. I said it all week. Tyler Higbee is the literal X factor for this offense the rest of the way. This could be his last game, his last season. Well, it could be his last game, but it could be his last season as a Ram. He's the greatest tight end in Rams history. He knows, like, he wants to go out on top. He dealt with a lot of injuries, all that. He's always played through most of them, but look, when he came off the IR, Alexis, he was out for blood. Over 90 yards against the Cardinals. Like, he's ready to go. He has the rapport with Stafford. They were missing him in that Carolina game. I don't care what anyone says. Give me Tyler Higbee, 80-plus yards and a touchdown in this one. He is going to be huge for this team.
Hell yeah.
Then, I'm going to go with, because I could just feel it, after all the bullshit that was thrown his way, I think Akella Witherspoon's going to get another interception. I do. Which, by the way, I think a lot of people need to understand that play, you might not know, that was supposed to be a Kello shading, and Cam Kinchens is over the top. They did this same thing, against the Jets last year when I was at the game. It forces a fumble. So Cam Curl goes in, he strips the ball from Aaron Rodgers, and they get the fumble. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers was starting to really hyper-focus on Devontae Adams. So they had Akello kind of shade him and blanket him, and then Rodgers, it took him long enough where he's looking too long, and it gets the pressure gets there. That was the point, because Jacoby Brissett can hold on to that football. But when you don't get the safety help, Jacoby Brissett's a gunslinger. So he's just going to throw it. And you can say he underthrew it. I don't really care, to be honest with you. It's a hell of a play by Akello, and that's one of the best receivers in football right now. I don't care what anyone says. Michael Wilson would have been on pace for over 2,000 yards if he had played the way he was used week 11 on. So that's a coaching issue over there. He's a stud. They're in good hands there. But that being said, I think Akello gets an interception this week. I said this. I went a big spiel on JE Live. A lot of people disagree. To me, the way I see the corners, Alexis, and I don't know if you see it the same way, Akello, Kobe, and Darius were dominant last year in the postseason, and Emmanuel Forbes has never played in the postseason. So Emmanuel Forbes, I find myself crossing my fingers and literally hoping for the best. I don't have this analysis. I don't have numbers to back up anything. I don't have any sample size. So therefore, I'm just hoping for the best when it comes to one. But I know 14, I know 4, and I know 31 have made play after play in the postseason. And it wasn't just the postseason, Alexis. First round, who'd they go up against? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Second round, who'd they go up against? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. That is 2 of the best duos in the league at wide receiver. These guys are battle-tested, and they're ready, and they know, even if you feel like they didn't finish the season all that great, they know that you can turn the page and you can move on, and it's a blank slate in the postseason. My one concern in the secondary is Cam Kinchens. He struggled as of late, and he struggled for most of the season now. I think the beginning half, he looked really good. The ending half, he struggled. But I've really been concerned about Emmanuel Forbes just trying to jump routes that don't need to be jumped, playing a little bit more risky, playing lackadaisical. He's a really, really talented player, was 3rd in the league in pass breakups, but he's got to play smart. This is not one of those games where you want a guy to just try and jump a route when he's on the boundary and there's no safety help. And then you let Tedero and McMillan go for 50 yards on a touchdown, puts him back in the game. So it's not one of those things. Anyway, Kello, he's going to have an interception. And if you forgot already, because my spiel, Tyler Higbee is going to go for 80 yards and a touchdown. My next one here, I think the Rams are going to pressure Bryce Young 20 times in this game. Now, that might not sound like a lot. The Rams do that, but it is. Seattle only pressured him 15. So I think this is going to be a 20 pressure game. I think we're going to start to see this pressure really get there. It's not just against Bryce Young. It's not just against his pass protection. It's that this pass rush, I think, is going to do it against anybody they face. I think they're getting hot at the right time. And number 4, I said 4 touchdowns last week. I think Matthew Stafford throws for 3 touchdowns this week. He takes care of the football, and he goes demon mode. He's going to throw for 300-plus yards as well. So those are my bold predictions for the Rams, and let's get into the score. Or 4 bold predictions.
Looking at the score, Jake, I do think that the Rams are going to win. And I think they're going to win 21-17. I think it's going to be close. Okay. I don't think they're going to go in there. I don't think they're going to blow out Carolina. I'm considering the weather. I'm considering our last matchup with Carolina. I'm considering the fact it's a playoff game. So I think they are going to take care of business. I think that they're going to win in Carolina 21-17. What say you?
I got 30-20. I think the Rams are going to, comfortably take this game over and ride the wave. Sean McVay is going to be smart. He's going to know even with, the lead, if we can run the football, we're going to continue to stay on the ground. We're going to force that clock down. We're going to do what they did to us in the third quarter when we only touched the ball 3 times in the third quarter. That's how you win a football game. Obviously you can win it in a myriad of ways, and Stafford's capable of throwing 6 touchdowns if you need him to, but I don't think they're going to do that. And I've already heard, like with Stafford, the way he's talked about, this is as good of a secondary as they've seen this year. So there's a lot of respect being had, and I think they're going to try and pound the rock early on. They're going to establish it. Then the passing game with the play action is going to come into play, and then I think they're going to go back to the run game, and they're going to cruise their way to the divisional round. And now, since we did that, we're going to finish this thing off. Alexis, how about a little bonus? It's the playoffs. Who are the Rams playing in the next round of the playoffs?
You go first.
I think everybody.
Let's line up.
Me on this one, but
let's lay out the options first for everybody, because I am seeing in the chat some discussion about who would need to win for us to play who.
Yeah.
So
okay, so you start off Seattle as the 1 seed. So they just play the lowest seed. So that's always like the easiest way to look at it. Because there's no just like the seeding is always, there's always a reseeding, right? So therefore, the Rams being the 5 seed, if they beat the Panthers, they can still host a playoff game, but they would need the 49ers and the Packers to win. The Rams, the most likely option based on, all the analytical data and everything, the analytics have the Bears beating the Packers and the analytics have the Eagles beating the 49ers. So the 3 and the 2 seed. If that were to happen, the Eagles would go to Seattle and the Rams would go to Chicago. So that's the most likely thing to happen. But I'm not going with the most likely. Alexis, I'm sorry. I think Papa Don is going to watch the Bears lose on his birthday. I think the Packers.
God, I hope not.
I'm going to be honest here. It helps the Rams out big time, but that's not why I'm doing it. The Packers are not a team I think are great, and I think they're missing your long-lost brother, Tucker Kraft, and I think they're definitely missing Micah Parsons. But let's be honest here. The Packers lost a 16-6 lead with 5 minutes to go, and there was a face mask on the sack, 3rd and 20 with 3:15 on the clock, that would have ultimately ended the game. Like, you would have been 4th and 26 down 10. The face mask is an automatic first down, bailed them out. Still a face mask. I'm not saying that, like, I don't have any dog here. I'm not a Packers fan, but it bailed them out. Bears, they had to come all the way back and win that game. I think the Packers have more experience, and I think Jordan Love who's already beaten this team, is going to beat them again. Malik Willis played well enough to beat the Bears. And my argument is that I see the Bears as a fun story, that it's going to come to a halt this weekend, but I think that they're on the cusp of being something. And they remind me of the 2017 LA Rams when they played against a veteran Falcons team. I am not here to tell you that I think the Packers are great. I don't. But the Packers have experience. Jordan Love has been in the playoffs. Matt LaFleur's probably coaching for his job. So I think that those things, all things considered, and it's a divisional game, I think it'll be a close one, and it could go either way, but I'm going to go with the Packers. And then the Eagles and 49ers, I'm going to take the 49ers. I think the 49ers, I understand they have a lot of injuries, but the Eagles' offense has been a joke this year. Kevin Patullo is not a good offensive coordinator until they get into the red area. And the 49ers defense, they're not the best, but I mean, it kind of matches up with the Eagles not having the best offense. And one thing about the Eagles defense that people keep talking about is how great their secondary is, which it is. I mean, Quinion Mitchell, I just submitted, my vote as the number 1 corner this year in the league. But that said, they give up the run. And if the 49ers can run with Christian McCaffrey, and I believe he is going to go off because he just had probably the worst game of his career when they needed him the most, I think if Christian McCaffrey can get going, They can operate play action. I think Brock Purdy, believe it or not, I trust him more than Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl, but lately, Brock Purdy looks like the better quarterback. And I think the 49ers are going to benefit from the fact that they played in the division with two of the best teams in the sport, whereas the Eagles, I think, are going to pay the price playing an easy schedule, playing an easy division, and not really being battle tested the way the 49ers are. And I think that is going to be the difference. I think the Rams will end up hosting the divisional round against the 49ers, and then I think they're going to have to play Seattle in the NFC title game. That means the Rams will have to play both of the division rivals, who have each won 12-plus games 3 times this season. If there's not, more of earning a Super Bowl appearance, I don't know if there's anybody that's earned it more than the Rams, that they have to go through the 49ers and Seahawks 3 times in a season. I'm just saying.
I mean, I could very well see that happening. This is one of those years where nothing would surprise me. No outcome of any game would surprise me. I, for whatever reason, feel like the Bears are going to win. I don't know if it's because I've watched them win so many games this year that they should not have won, and they somehow managed to find a way. For everyone who's unfamiliar, I live in Chicago, so I'm very familiar with the Bears. And there's so many times that I see that team just find a way to win that it is hard for me to say that they're not going to win at home on Saturday night in those conditions. So I do think the Bears win. I also think the Eagles win. So we are on opposite sides here. So my take, and this is not just because it benefits me as a viewer to go to the game. I do think that the Rams are going to go to Chicago. And by the way, that would be a brutal game to watch in person. I probably would go if that were the case.
Oh, God.
But it would be brutally cold. That is what I think happens, but who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers beat Chicago at all. I think they certainly, in ideal conditions, probably would. I think I would take Jordan Love over Caleb Williams. And then 49ers Eagles is a toss-up. I mean, on paper, the Eagles should win, in my opinion. But they have been so unreliable this season. Those Eagles have just not looked good. They have not been consistent. So it would not surprise me if the 49ers, in my opinion, would pull off an upset if they were to win. So we'll see. But I do think that the Rams will end up in Chicago for the divisional round.
I mean, you know me. And I see the comment section. I see some people suggesting that I'm trying. It's wishful thinking. If you think for a second that I'm wishing for the 49ers to win another playoff game, I don't know what to tell you. I hate the 49ers. I'm not even going to be unbiased here. Despise them. I'm just calling it like I see it. That was kind of the funny thing Jesse said last night at Roundtable, Alexis. He's like, it's wishful thinking. You don't want to play the Eagles. I don't give a shit. I think the Rams are so much better than Philly. I don't think it's remotely close. I really don't. And I know the Rams would have to go to Philly and all of that. I think the Rams are a lot better than they were last year, and they still almost beat Philly, and they didn't have the 13 personnel, and they didn't have a 1-2 punch in the backfield, and they didn't have a red zone threat at all, like Devontae Adams, right? I'm not worried about Philly. I'm not worried about Seattle. I'm not worried about the Bears, the Packers, the 49ers. It doesn't matter who's in their way, because what I believe is this is by far, when they are on, they are the best team in the National Football League, and they will beat anybody in their way. And they get the benefit of having that loss, that last loss, just in case that humbling wasn't enough for you. Just in case it wasn't enough for you to look up and see AJ Barner standing on whatever he was standing on and celebrating, and you having to walk back into the locker room and you're watching a team that you were just destroying. You watch them come back and win that game on a short week. If that wasn't enough, losing Monday night against the Falcons, that was the last wake-up call. So this is what's going to happen. The Rams are either going to do what I expect them to do, and they're going to run the table, and they're going to win it all. Or the Rams were never as good as I thought. And I'll be the first one to admit that. If they fall to Carolina, there's no refs, there's no fluke. You lost twice to them. You just weren't as good as I thought. If they can't beat Carolina, we're having a completely different discussion. If they can't beat Chicago, who didn't play anywhere near as tough of a schedule as the Rams, then they're just not the team I thought they were. The reality is, I don't think it matters whether they play home, whether they play on the road. This was a team that was 5-1 on the road. Then, of course, you know, some things happened. They got some injuries. I think Quentin Lake was the heart and soul of the defense. We found that out. But aside from that, I know they finished 5-4 on the road for the year, but they were 5-1 before that stretch at the end of the season. That's what I believe them to be. And it's not really necessarily about the record, Alexis. And I always say this. It's kind of like why I was bringing it up earlier. Matthew Stafford has these career records that are like not great, but it's like also he played in Detroit. Like, oh, he's 2-10 in the snow and the rain. He played in Detroit. Like that. There you go. Right. When I look at their road record, 5-4, it irks me because I really think they're a good road team. And it just took that stretch where it's like, unfortunately, you lose that game to Carolina by 3 that you should have won. You blow a 16-point lead in 8 minutes to Seattle, right? And then, of course, you have the Falcons game. So, I mean, they should have won all 3. The Falcons game, really, they were just outplayed, but they still could have won the game, and they had opportunities. But, I mean, they outplayed the other 2. You know, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. But yeah, we're gonna find out. You know, and I see Detroit has a dome. I know that, but he was on the team that was the Detroit Lions that was not as good as the Rams. So when they went on the road, they didn't win as many games, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm excited. I think the playoffs are going to be really fun, and while we're at it, let's just share our AFC stuff this weekend. We're halfway there, you know.
All right. You want me to go first? I'm gonna pull it up
it's all
just
you.
so I remember the schedule. So in the AFC, I have the Bills beating the Jaguars, which might not be popular as of late because I know that the Jaguars are hot.
Right
the Jaguars. Oh, the Bills.
The Bills might be the AFC favorite right now, like for most people.
It's just so hard to like bet against Josh Allen, in my opinion. I know that he's had his ups and downs, but like it's hard to pick against him at times. So I'm gonna say that I think it'll be close. But I'm taking the Bills over the Jags. So listen, Chargers Patriots is interesting.
It is. Say it.
Because I kind of lean towards the Chargers, if I'm being honest. The Patriots have had, and we're not going to get into the whole MVP thing right now, but the Patriots have had a very easy schedule this season. Mm-hmm. So their record is very misleading. The Chargers have had a tougher schedule than the Patriots. And I also think right now, like when Justin Herbert is hot, like he's playing better than Drake May is playing. And I'm not going to get into like, oh, but Drake May is, MVP, whatever people think, right? I don't think that Patriots team is built for the playoffs. And I think that there's a very good chance that they get obliterated by the Chargers. I could be wrong. I hope it's a close game just for entertainment purposes. But I think that the Chargers are going to beat the Patriots. And then on Monday night, I think the Texans are going to beat the Steelers.
So, okay, so we share the Texans. You have the Chargers officially?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be any of those games if they go the other way. I won't be surprised at all. I think they're all going to be really close, but I have the Chargers.
So you and I only agree on 2 picks. That's crazy. So I have the Jaguars beating the Bills. My argument, the Jaguars have won 8 in a row. Bills are 0-8 since I was born in road playoff games, since both of us were born. Liam Cohen and the Jags, when they got humbled by the Rams in London, it wasn't just one of those, oh, we lost, like that sucks, like we got humbled. No, they actually showed Like they learned. They took the moment and it was a learning opportunity. And keep in mind, they lost Travis Hunter, who they spent a lot of capital to go up and get. So he's not even helping them this year. That's your, number one pick this year that you gave up multiple picks for. But the Bills don't have the offensive firepower to go toe-to-toe with the Cohen offense and this rebirth Trevor Lawrence, who I was like the biggest Trevor Lawrence critic, and now I'm like, Trevor Lawrence is actually really good at football right now. I think this is really going to sting Bills fans because the X factor in this game is going to be Jacoby Myers, who they should have traded for at the deadline. I think the Bills literally are a Jacoby Myers trade away from potentially going to the Super Bowl. But I think Anthony Campanile has done an outstanding job, defensive coordinator for them. They're going to force a turnover or two on Josh Allen. And if you go back and you look throughout history, Josh Hines Allen has had really good numbers against Josh Allen. And I think that's going to stand again. So I'm going to take the Jaguars, 31-27 in that one. I'm going to take New England to barely beat the Chargers. I like what you're saying. I actually want to go all in with you. But I just think the Patriots playing in Foxborough, it's just going to be enough to get them over the hump. But Jesse Minter is going to shut down May. I really believe that. I think he's going to do a lot to shut down May. This is going to be the toughest defense he's faced so far. I mean, we saw Tampa really get to him, and they didn't make the playoffs. But, I just think when you lack the tackles that the Chargers have, even with a really weak pass rush, when it comes to the Patriots, right? I think it's 31st in the league. Even as weak as it is, the Chargers still don't have Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt. I think that will be enough, to just get by into the next round. And then the last one, 16-6. I have the Texans winning. That game, I don't even know if I'll watch that game. That is going to be an absolute snooze fest, folks. The Texans have the best defense in football. I'm not going to act like the offense matches that. Rodgers deserves a ton of credit. No DK Metcalf because he's a dumbass and got himself suspended for 2 weeks. They lost to the Browns, and then he came back, and they were able to beat the Ravens. I know he missed the field goal, but Rodgers did everything in his power to win that game. Metcalf is back, but I just don't think it's going to matter. Kamari Lassiter's balling out. You got, of course, Derek Stingley Jr., you got Jalen Petrie, and you got Kalen Bullock. I just think that they have such a good back end of the secondary, and then you have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I'm bummed that Tank Dell isn't going to make it this season because his knee exploded last year. I was kind of hoping he would, but that's not going to happen. But Houston, they're going to suffocate the run. They're going to suffocate the pass. It's going to be ugly, 16-6 in Pittsburgh. Houston can play on the road. They can play at home. They can play on the road. And Aaron Rodgers still has it in the tank, but Aaron Rodgers is not Josh Allen and Alexis. We all saw what this team did to Josh Allen. So I think this defense is going to be enough to shut him down. And so that means next week I have the Broncos playing the Texans and the Patriots hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. And guess what?
Those would be good matchups.
I think the Texans and Jaguars win both.
Hey,
I think it's going to be an NFC West team in the NFC. I just think the NFC championship is going to be NFC West, and I think the AFC championship is going to be the AFC South. That's how I see it. I think playing a really good schedule is actually going to matter when it's all said and done.
That would be very interesting if that's what ends up happening. I'll say that. Not at all surprising, but just interesting. But Jake, we've got some supers.
We do.
We want to make sure we don't miss them.
Got some absolute supers. We got Deuce Falco with the 50. Rams Revenge Tour starts Saturday. LFG, appreciate you, Deuce, with the boysenberry, as Z-Bot called it yesterday, because he names all the, the colors and everything. Deuce, we really do appreciate everybody. Drop a W in the chat for Deuce. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Huge. Aaron, thank you for the 10. Why does it seem like the Rams are terrible on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 runs, especially on the goal line? McVay calls terrible run plays on those downs, and we get stopped. I don't actually know the answer fully, but I do know that they have a lot more success when running in 13, and I I feel like there's been a lack of execution. I haven't really hated the play calls, Alexis. I feel like there's been a lack of an execution up front. I mean, we saw it really painstakingly obvious. They go for it on 4th down against the Falcons. And I mean, I don't know where DJ Humphries was going, but he wasn't blocking his guy. So Kyron gets decked immediately. You can't blame the ball carrier if he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. I've always said that. Like, if it's Cam Akers and he's dancing and what, that's different. But like, if you're Kyron Williams and he spends like the least amount of time behind the line of scrimmage and he's getting hit, well, I have to imagine somebody missed a block. So I think it's been lack of execution. I don't necessarily think it's been play call, but what say you, Alexis?
It's the offensive line. And, you go back and you watch those plays. I mean, they just aren't hitting their guys up front and creating those lanes. There's a reason, Kyron Williams is one of the best short yardage running backs in the league. It's what people used to knock him for, right? They're like, oh, well, he's a short yardage back, right? He's a 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 merchant. So if you believe that, and then you see that these plays, these 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 plays, all of a sudden magically just aren't working, you got to be like, okay, there's got to be like a common theme here of what's going on. And if you go back and watch the offensive line, they just aren't. And listen, Kevin Dotson matters a lot in that situation, especially at the goal line. Very underappreciated there. So they just aren't getting their lanes. And yeah, the play that you brought up, I mean, behind the line of scrimmage, I mean, there's nothing you can do there. So a couple of those play calls, like, I haven't loved. I don't necessarily hate running on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever, but some of those like right up the middle runs, after a couple times, you're like, that's not working for whatever reason. Let's maybe move on. But I think it's the offensive line, because you look at earlier in the season, we were crushing it on those calls. And now all of a sudden it's just, we can't seem to find a good rhythm there.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen tweets about how Kyron isn't the best on short yardage and, converting first downs, but I have, numbers here to say that's incorrect. He's actually number 3 in the entire league at running back in first downs. He is 74. So not really sure where that came from, but anything to
Kyron haters.
Anything to fit a narrative. And that's why we have these segments of defending Kyron. Why do you defend Kyron? Because I have to.
Well, the numbers defend him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's been splitting with Blake Corum for the better part of half the year. He finishes with 1,250 plus yards, averages 4.8 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. He only fumbled once, and he was punched in the head. so that's his only. I know they gave him 2. That was Stafford threw a bad toss play. So I don't know how that's on Kyron, but or was that the one where he put it up here? Was that the handoff where he put it up there, or was that the toss? Was Blake Corum just the toss? I don't remember. I remember it wasn't on Kyron. I like they gave it to him, but I still would say it was
Corum was the toss. Kyron was the one where Stafford kind of, I think he tripped. I don't remember, but it was like they weren't in the same.
Flipped it instead of handing it off. Like he just kind of flipped it into his chest. Yeah.
But people want to pretend that Kyron Williams is like the most fumble prone running back in the league or whatever, where he's had 2 this season. And if you watched, one was on him, but it was also ruled a botched handoff. And the other should have been called back. He was quite literally punched in the head. So,
well, and then the whole like, my favorite argument is, well, Kyron doesn't do anything after contact. He goes down on first contact. He has 812 yards after contact, which is top 10 in the league. So I don't, there's just a lot of like, misinformation out there. I mean, that goes without saying, but there's a lot of misinformation on Kyron Williams out there that can easily be disproven just with these numbers that he's put up. And so, yeah, we try and, share those. The thing I laugh at is, people will shit on his ability to break away, and like whatever. But I mean,
well, he was asked to gain weight. He purposely gained weight.
Well,
and so
yes,
everybody...
but he also still, by the way, has a better breakaway percentage than Christian McCaffrey. and Ashton Genty. So, I'm not saying like he's the best in the world at doing it. He's not, Devon A-Chain. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He's definitely not Jahmyr Gibbs, not pass protecting like that. But, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that he does that just doesn't really get talked about nearly enough. And then Corum does it, and people are like, oh, my God, that was... So, I like them both, but I just feel like I'm always going to defend the guy that just doesn't get talked about fairly. And Kyron's sixth in rushing yards this year. Once again, another double-digit touchdown season. He was outstanding for the Rams. And what isn't talked about nearly enough is the fact that he played in all 17 games. Then this is actually the fascinating part. 259 carries this year. Guess what? Kyron Williams last year, and if you guys have heard this, I'm sorry. It's going to be, record, broken record here. But only Eric Dickerson touched the ball more than Kyron Williams touched the ball in Rams history last year. Kyron Williams had more touches in a season when you combine the postseason than anybody not named Eric Dickerson, period. And he followed that up because, remember, he was injury prone, Alexis? Well, he followed that up by having 259 carries this year and playing all 17 games. So, say what you will, but he's been a model of consistency, and, he is so key for this team, and this is why they signed him to the contract. And, why did he only have 100-yard game? I'll tell you why. Because he was splitting by the time he had the 100-yard game, against New Orleans, I think they were switching over to Corum, the next week to go back and forth. So, yeah, that's my spiel about why KW23 deserves more love than he gets.
He does. He definitely does. People try to paint all these narratives about him, and every single one can be easily disproven. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Much appreciation for number 23.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Aaron, appreciate the super there. That made me go completely off the rails.
Thank you.
Illicit, thank you for the 5. Were you more confident in us winning the Super Bowl in 2022 or this year? Do you think our potential path is more difficult than it was in 2022? That's a really good question. I felt like, here's my thing. I was never more confident in my life than when Matthew Stafford became the Rams quarterback. I was like, they are winning the Super Bowl. I just knew it was written, it was done, signed, sealed, delivered. This is who they've been waiting for. But this year, it's interesting because they don't have the home playoff game. The Super Bowl won't be at home. And because they're not a 4 seed, it's going to be harder to get a home playoff game in the championship game. So they absolutely do have a tougher path. To go on the road and play against the reigning Super Bowl champions and the Buccaneers was brutal. But that said, they played at home against Arizona, they played at home against the 49ers, and they played at home against the Bengals. This one you're looking at, you're playing against the Carolina Panthers. You're going on the road, potentially against Seattle, potentially against Chicago, potentially against Philly. And then the championship game, you're looking at potentially Chicago, Philly, Seattle, So all those games you would be on the road. So without a doubt, the potential path for this team was way more difficult than 2022. Also, I tend to believe, and I want to be clear here, I think that Bengals team if you put that Bengals team in this postseason, that's the best offense in this postseason, in the AFC, right? But that offensive line at the same time was the worst. Awful. And the defense wasn't amazing. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. It was actually very good. I'll give them that. So I don't know. Is there anybody that you would say, Alexis, in the AFC side that you would say is better than the Bengals were that the Rams play in the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about that one. That's a tough question. I
It
mean,
is.
I'll say this: the Bengals' offensive line
Is
that year,
awful.
I still don't understand how they got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, it was
I
bad.
mean, when we were previewing that matchup, it was kind of like if the Rams were to lose this, like it would almost be unacceptable at that point. That I mean, with the defense that we had and that Burrow offensive line, and we ended up being proven right, right? When you watch how that Super Bowl went down,
Yeah.
I'll say that with the answer to the super chat, I was more confident, I think, in 22 just because it felt like there was so much that fell in place that year, like it was like destiny, like like it was like everything like this, it was really like written in the stars. It was like a Hollywood story. You had the Cooper Cup Triple Crown year, you had Andrew Whitworth getting the Walter Payton man, like it was like so, I mean, Rams fans don't like to hear it, but like it was so storybook perfectly written for the Rams to win that. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but like it was hard to not be extremely confident the Rams were going to win. It is almost the opposite for me this year. I still think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not in their favor the way that it was in 2022. It is almost like the reverse Uno card of like, you're now going to go on the road. You're probably going to end up playing two of your division rivals to get to the Super Bowl. So it's a very different story. So if I would say that I was more confident in 2022 than I am here this year, but I still am confident that they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. No, I see. I still think I 100% think they're going to win the Super Bowl. It it feels very similar to the season that they won. And the reason being is because just before, we were thinking, oh, we got on November, no win November, whatever. And then December hits and it's, oh, Matthew Stafford has only one loss in December. He's insane, whatever. And then all of a sudden you see December hits. And it's like, I feel like that was the no win November. And I think that also was kind of a blessing in disguise because this team, the way, there are times where it seems like, oh, are they overlooking this opponent? I mean, looking back, I didn't think it at the time, but now I kind of do. And it's like, would the one seed have helped this team? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would that have been what's best for this team? I don't know. So it's certainly a fascinating thing because the Rams lost 3 straight in November. And I believe all 3 were playoff teams. Titans, Packers, and 49ers were all playoff teams. And then they lost at the end of the year. They played their starters and they lost in overtime to the 49ers. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to be really happy about this road. We're going to be really happy about the way it ended up. And, if I'm wrong, then I'll be the first one to tell you that I was wrong. But that's how I see it. Long this. Everyone put a W in the chat with the Boysenberry 50.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. McVay is a Hall of Fame caliber coach, but he needs to develop a killer instinct. He almost seems to not want to embarrass other coaches, but whatever it is, he needs to get over it. This is interesting because I think you've seen it in the past, Alexis, where this does seem to somewhat apply, where the Rams are off to such a good start. It's like almost, it feels like they don't want to run up the score. And then at the same time, there are times where, maybe McVay's kind of feeling it. And, it's like, okay, we've seen that. I mean, just keep putting on points against the 49ers, 42 to 20. I know they scored a garbage time touchdown, but 42 to 20, that game was. Jacksonville, I mean, that's against his former coach that was on his coaching staff. 35 to 7, drubbing, embarrassing in London, throwing at the goal line, 5 touchdown passes for Matthew Stafford. So we've seen it before, but we've also seen where it's like they could have done more, and yeah, they didn't. So I don't know. I mean, I think there were definitely points you brought up in the Seattle game. They could have put that game away. They could have put the game away against the Panthers. the Arizona Cardinals, 45-17. I mean, Stafford threw 3 touchdowns in that game. He threw 31 times. Nakua had 167 yards. I mean, they kept going after it in that one. So I don't know. Maybe this year I've started to notice more. He's been more open about blowing teams out than in years past.
Yeah, I don't even think, it's always that he doesn't want to blow teams out. I think that if anything, he has a little bit of a complacency problem. I think he gets way too conservative too early. And I think, people can argue what is behind that. Is it because he doesn't want to run up the score? Is it because he's getting arrogant? Whatever it is. Only he knows what that is, and on those occasions that he does it. But I agree that he needs to be a lot better oftentimes at keeping the foot on the gas early in games. I mean, we've seen a lot of games this season go that way. And so I don't know what it is. But, I understand, if you don't want to run up the score when you're already up by like 30, that's one thing. But, when you're up by 14 points and you're screwing around at, before halftime, which we've seen this team do, that is embarrassing. And that needs to stop, because how many times have we seen the Rams do that? And then another team catches up and we're like, we should have gone up by another score before halftime. I'm also just of the opinion of, like, in the National Football League, like, you should not be taking your foot off the gas until you're up by at least 3 touchdowns. And even then, I'm like, you should probably be up by like 24 points before you even consider that, just because it's so commonplace in the NFL where a team gets up by 14 or 17 or whatever it is, and then they blow it all away. So I do agree kind of, with that notion of, there's been a lot of instances that we have seen from McVay that have been not great. But who knows? Maybe he goes into next season and realizes that you shouldn't be playing conservative when up by 14. We'll see.
Yeah, I get that. And we definitely will see. But long list, really appreciate the 50. That's awesome stuff. Matthew, thank you for the 5. Damn, if y'all are right about the NFC West playoff path to the Super Bowl, that would be crazy. Wonder if that has ever happened before for a team. I'm sure it has, but I mean, at the same time, think about it. That'd be tough, though, Alexis, because think about how long the league was. There was 4 teams, and there were 6 teams. Now there's 7. It's easier with 7, but with 6, I mean, that's I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if that's ever happened before. Maybe it has. Appreciate you, Matthew. And then I'm a fan of Trevor because of Clemson, but was kind of with Jake about him. He's got all the capable talent. It was just the bonehead decisions. Yeah. And now those bonehead decisions are out the door. And, the thing that, if Bryce Young, watches Trevor Lawrence this week for whatever reason, I don't know why he would, but if he does, he can learn a thing or two in the red zone. Trevor, when he panics, it's not really panic. He already knows, I'm going to run the football. And that's something like Josh Allen does that makes him such a dangerous player, because when you're already a quarterback and you can run it, you can run it for a touchdown, and you get the pressure, and the first thing you're thinking is, I'm going to run for a touchdown instead of just throwing it out of the back of the end zone or panicking and throwing it away or taking a sack. I think it puts you in a really good position. And I've seen that all year. Trevor Lawrence is not afraid of going out and running for 2 touchdowns in a game. Like, he's not afraid of doing that. And I think that's what's really helped him, is like reminding him, yeah, by the way, you can actually still use your legs. And so hopefully, Bryce Young doesn't get that memo. Thank you, Matthew. So that's going to do it. I'll let Alexis finish off the show, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are now a couple days away from the wild card playoff game. Very, very exciting. Jake and I will be back early next week to recap that game, and hopefully we'll be recapping a win. As always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan. And guys, until next time, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.